G'day World Wide Web, Lew Dub with some intel on the Championships of Horse Racing at Royal Randwick being staged over the next 2 Saturdays. If you're a racing fan, you know that day 1 and day 2 of the Championships attracts some of the best thoroughbreds from all over the world. There's huge prize money and also huge punter investment, which in turn amounts to bigger prize pools for us. Now, when I say bigger prize pools, I'm talking about the winning dividend for picking a first 4, a trifecta or a quadrella on these big race days. For newbies, please be aware that dividends for exotic bets like the trifectas, first 4s and quadrellas are greatly affected by the amount of money invested on that particular race, or in the case of the quadrella, races. To make things clear, here are some facts. On an ordinary Saturday, the sum invested in the Main Quaddie by punters on the New South Wales TAB averages around $350,000 to $360,000. On a big race day like the Championships, you see more than $1 million in the pool. And I will clarify that a big pool is not a guarantee of a big dividend. Most of us know this. For experienced punters, please bear with me. I know that you know everything that I'm saying here. But just ensuring the juniors are equipped and informed, I'll emphasise again, a big pool is not a guarantee of a big dividend. If, for example, the first 4 horses over the line were the most popular picks with punters, then you're obviously not going to get life-changing money. Another factor in the dividend is the number of runners, as the more runners there are, the more combinations us punters could choose from. Okay, here are some exotic dividends, looking at first 4s from the last 2 years of the Championships at Royal Randwick. You can see that the Sydney Cup is very attractive with those dividends of $61,000, $153,000, $114,000, along with the Doncaster, which is pretty much a guaranteed 5-figure dividend. You can see there in 2020 they did have a huge one of $196,000. Though the Doncaster pool is always larger, the Sydney Cup first 4 dividend is regularly higher. Then looking at quaddie dividends over the last 2 years. Day 2 has been a much larger dividend, obviously meaning harder to pick also. Note the 2 quaddies on each day. The early quaddie that only attracts around 10% of the dollars kicks off from race 3, runs till race 6. So my advice there is to follow the money and punt on the Main Quaddie, which kicks off from race 7 and runs through to race 10. And now for the punting intel. You might be a little disappointed by this, but my big tip is just to start studying now. These are the 4 races that make up the Main Quaddie on day 1, and the fields are available. You can see them on screen now. That's a screenshot from the Racing New South Wales website. You've got the Derby, the TJ Smith and the Doncaster fields and barriers out now. You can check that. I've left a link in the video description so to get access to those fields and barriers. And here are the 4 races that have made up the Main Quaddie on day 2 in recent years. Now, there is no guarantee that it will be those 4 races again, but I'd bet good money on the Queen Elizabeth and the Sydney Cup being in the Quaddie and the Queen of the Turf, as they are the feature races of the day. Now back to day 1. First, looking at the Derby. Over the last 4 years, we've had 2 winners of the Derby have a win in the Tulloch Stakes just 1 week before the race itself. Explosive Jack in 2021. Now he was coming off a second in the Bendigo St Ledger trial over a similar distance, and he'd won the Tasmanian Derby by close to 4 lengths over 2,200 metres. Hitotsu, his lead-up race was the Australian Guineas over a mile, so that was a big step up in distance, but he'd already proven himself over the distance by winning the VRC Derby about 5 months prior. Now it's your task to look through this year's field for horses with similar lead-ups to the aforementioned, or you could just pick Sharp and Smart. To the TJ Smith. This race has been won by Nature Strip for the last 3 years. He had used the Challenge Stakes over 1,000 metres as his lead up on all of those occasions. He'd finished first in that race in 2020, then had a trial to keep him tuned up. In 2021 he finished second in the Challenge Stakes and had a trial to top him up. Then in 2022, he just had the run in the Challenge Stakes, finished third, and went on to win the TJ Smith without that additional trial. Back in 2019, Santa Ana Lane won the TJ Smith, and he used the Group 1 1200 metre Newmarket down the Flemington Straight. He finished 5th in that race and had a trial to keep him fit for the big race. This year, Giga Kick, by the way, has actually followed that successful nature strip strategy of the Challenge Stakes, and Giga Kick is going to be ridden by Zach Purton. Now for the Doncaster. I'm terrible with this Randwick Mile. It's very hard to pick, and just looking at the last 4 years, none of the Doncaster winners had won their last start. Brutal, the 3-year-old colt, was the closest with a second in the Group 1 George Ryder 2 weeks prior to the Doncaster. Importantly, he'd proved himself against the older horses with that run. I might add that over the last 20 years, 3-year-olds have won 6 Doncaster miles, 4 colts and 2 geldings. Now for the last leg of the quaddie on day 1 of the championship. In recent history, it's been the Group 3 PJ Bell Stakes over 1200 metres for 3-year-old fillies. And very hard to pick this one. Winners have come from everywhere. Back in 2019, Multijar was coming off a win in a benchmark 70 race, while last year's winner, Heresy, had run 4th in the Group 1 Surround Stakes in late February before using a trial about 9 or 10 days before the race to fine-tune things.
Bodies of people, groups of people whom nobody elected, never. As a matter of fact, most of the people don't like them at all, and yet they exist. One of such group is media. Who elected them? How come they have so much power, almost monopolistic power on your mind? They can rape your mind. But who elected them? How come they have a nerve to decide what is good and what is bad for the elected by you, President, and his administration? Who the hell are they?
Now for the Main Quaddie on day 2. The first leg is usually the Sydney Cup, then the Queen Elizabeth Stakes, followed by the Queen of the Turf for fillies and mares, and finally the Group 1 Sapphire Stakes for fillies and mares. A close look at the Sydney Cup, which I will give a full race preview of a couple of days before the race next week. But here is some handy intel to keep in mind. The last 4 winners are on screen now. And overwhelmingly, the key lead-up race in recent times has been the Chairman's Quality, just 1 week before the Sydney Cup itself. This year, I'm not so sure that will be the case, having seen some of the nominations. The key runners in the Chairman's Quality would be High Emotion, Nerve Not Verve, Raging Bull and Timor. You'll be able to catch that race on this channel from late in the afternoon, this Saturday, the 1st of April. The major race of day 2 is the Queen Elizabeth Stakes. Some of our greatest horses have won this race over the years: Winx, Lonhro, Might and Power, Rough Habit, Tulloch, and even the mighty Farlap. This year we have some standouts in Animo and Dubai Honour. Animo has taken the Winx route, coming via the Group 1 George Ryder Stakes over 1500, while Dubai Honour has taken the same path as Adabe, and he's probably been more impressive than Adabe, Dubai Honour. The outside chances at this stage you might throw into your quaddie would be Zayrek or Unicorn Lion. Watch out for the weather as well. We saw Think It Over do some funny stuff, or Nash Rawiller really steering him to a massive upset victory last year. Now for the Queen of the Turf, which I find the most difficult on the day 2 quaddie. Once again, it's that Randwick Mile, but this is a race reserved for fillies and mares, and look at the last 4 winners, none of them had finished better than 3rd in their last race. You might be able to say that a finish in the first half of the field in the Doncaster puts you in contention in the Queen of the Turf. Last year's winner, Nimmerly, was a very close 5th in the Emancipation, actually within 1 length. That's that. Now for the last leg of the quaddie on day 2. In recent years, as I said, there's no concrete guarantee here, but in recent years it's been the Sapphire Stakes over 1200 metres. Another race for fillies and mares. Basically, the story with this race in recent years is that if you've finished within 5 to 6 lengths in a Group 1 recently, you can win this race. All recent winners, by the way, have raced in the first third of the field. Also, by race 10 of day 2 of the championships, which the Sapphire Stakes is, the horses aren't travelling that close to the rail. And in fact, in the last 7 years, no horse inside barrier 5 has won the race. Anyway, best of luck. Well, I talked earlier about some of the huge dividends on offer for picking the first 4 in some of the major races of the championships. Now I'll take you through some methods that can increase your chances of success. So this is almost beginner level first off, but bear with me. When you hear about picking the first 4, you might think that's impossible. To pick them in finishing order, which is required, is pretty difficult. But for a fee, you can make things easier by trying a box first 4, where you pick 4 runners and they can finish in any order. The fee that I mentioned is $24, and for that $24 you can then get 100% of the first 4 dividend. On screen now, I'm giving you a demonstration of a box first 4 on the TAB website. And I am using a desktop computer, but most of this should be exactly the same if you're on a mobile phone. Here I've decided that horses 2, 3, 4 and 5 are going to fill the first 4 places. But putting a tick in each of the finish position boxes means my 4 horses, 2, 3, 4 and 5, can finish in any order. Now I'm going over to the bet amount box and I'll enter $24, and you'll see now in that green rectangle that says Flexi, we've got 100% of the dividend. So that means we get exactly what the dividend is read out as on the New South Wales TAB. If I put in $12, the amount I get will be 50%, or half the actual dividend. And you can see that indicated by the number in the green rectangle that says Flexi. Now we'll go over to Ladbrokes. So I'll do a box first 4 again. Notice this little tool. Once you click on that, a lot of the work of checking boxes is done. Anyway, once again, I'll start by selecting horses 2, 3, 4 and 5. It's the same race, by the way, and here I can enter my preferred percentage of the dividend. Also, Ladbrokes gives the choice of Victoria or New South Wales tote. Whichever you choose, it could be a very costly or maybe profitable choice. The amount paid out by each of the totes can differ by tens of thousands, so yeah, to be honest, you're better off betting with an outlet that offers best tote. So look out for them. Right, this time you'll see I've selected 5 horses for my box first 4. I'm just increasing my chances, but you'll notice that to get 100% of that dividend, we have to pay $120. It's a pretty big price to pay. If you settle for 50% though, you only have to pay $60. What about if I choose 6 horses for my box first 4 and increase my chances again? How much will this cost? Wow, $360 for 100%. Remember, if you settle for 50% of the dividend, you can get that bet outlay down to $180. Right, now a demo of a Standout First 4 over at WishBet. They've got that handy tool for people wanting to simply box, but the Standout First 4 or Standout Trifecta would be the best way to boost your chances of winning without spending a fortune. Here I'm selecting number 2, Prince of Tokyo, as my winner, and because I had trouble working out who is the strongest of the other top hopes, I've decided to just select 5 horses to fill 2nd, 3rd and 4th. So in total I've selected 6 horses, and if I scroll down and click on place bet, I get the option of typing in the percentage of the dividend that I want over there on the right. And there, $60 for 100% of the dividend. And you've got 1 horse to win with 5 other horses to fill the placings. That's a huge saving. Remember that boxing 6 horses with them finishing in any order costs $360 for 100% of the dividend. So Standout First 4s save a lot of outlay, and you've probably had a situation where you thought, well, for example, Winx is definitely going to win today, but I don't know exactly who will finish 2nd, 3rd and 4th. And yeah, if you want to make it cheaper, just type in your accepted percentage. Now over to PlayUp, and they've also got a clickable option for boxing your first 4. Not quite as obvious though, in my opinion, so they might want to work on that. Once again though, we're playing a Standout First 4. Have a look here. I've got one horse stood out to win, 5 horses to fill second, third and fourth, and it will cost $60 for 100% of the dividend. Let's have some fun though. If you're finding it hard to settle on 5 other horses to fill second, third and fourth, let's say it's a big field, let's throw in another and make it 1 horse to win and 6 others to fill positions second, third and fourth. Think Doncaster mile, big field, plenty of chances. It's very hard to pick. Now, as always, if you want to improve your probability of a win, you'll have to spend more. To take home 100%, you'll have to spend $120. Let's have some more fun. Let's say it's the Melbourne Cup. You're sure of the winner, but you don't know exactly who will finish second, third and fourth. We're going to throw in 8 other horses to fill second, third and fourth. Take a look. If you want 100% of the dividend, you will have to pay $336. That $336, that's expensive. So let's say it is a big race day like the Melbourne Cup. 25% of that first 4 dividend is usually still a lot of money, and 25% in this scenario would cost $84. Let's improve our chances even more. I'm really unsure about 4th position. I'm going to throw in another 2 horses for 4th position specifically. A payout of 100% of that dividend, in this case, would cost $448. That's expensive, so let's trim it down to 33%. Now we only have to pay $147. Let's get really intricate. We'll take number 11 and only select him for 3rd and 4th. He was previously 2nd, 3rd and 4th, but now we're settling with 3rd and 4th. For 100% of that dividend, it would cost $392. But remember, getting fancy in order to save money can come back to bite you. I had an experience like that last year with Shiraz in the Sydney Cup coming 2nd. I had him for 3rd and 4th only. Yeah, it cost tens of thousands of dollars. Okay, final advice. Keep your powder dry, people, and don't put your quaddie bet on until after race 6 when you've seen evidence of any track bias. Don't forget, I've got a heap more content on BitChute and Rumble these days. You can get a great big playlist of Sydney Cup lead-up races, currently 11 races, including Ray's U's win in the Irish St Ledger Trial last year, and Gear Up's narrow defeat of Cleveland, the Sydney Cup favourite in the Ballyroan Stakes last year. There's a link in the description of this video, which, by the way, was published to BitChute and Rumble 12 hours before YouTube. Check the odds!